And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could be with us once again. We welcome you all joining us on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're about to join in now that with our family on Amazon Live to talk to the one and only Mr. Bill Duke. You all know I've had him several times on Conversations Live, the radio show. This is our first on-camera conversation. Mr. Duke is being very gracious with his time to talk to us not only about his career, much of which he chronicled in this book. If you guys have not gotten it, it is available on Amazon, Bill Duke. But he has new book projects. We're going to talk about a new network, the Unite Network, as well as other projects he's been a part of. Mr. Duke, really appreciate you being on with us. Going to go ahead and connect with Amazon to get started.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Glad to do it. And we are live on Amazon Live now on the Amazon.com platform. I'm Cyrus Webb, one of your hosts here with Cyrus Webb Presents. I have someone with me that really needs no introduction. You know him as an actor, producer. He's also an author and an individual who now has launched his own network. We're excited to welcome the one and only Mr. Bill Duke to our program. For those joining us on the Amazon Live side, we're highlighting now the book that kind of began my conversations with Mr. Duke. It is the book chronicling his career. You all see it there. It's available right now on Amazon, but he has new book projects out this year and a new network as well. Mr. Duke, really appreciate the time today.
Thank you for having me, my friend. Appreciate it.
Hey, glad to do it. So I want to begin kind of how you and I first talked when we had you on Conversations Live, the radio show. And that was about the impact you've been able to have. The book kind of chronicles your journey, how we got to know you, but also how you got to know yourself. What has it been like for you, Mr. Duke, to be able to reflect on this past 40 plus years and all you've been able to do?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I came up during segregation. But my family got me through that, my father and mother and sister, and was fortunate enough to go. I was born in Poughkeepsie, New York, upstate New York. At that time, it was a relatively difficult place to be, but there were some good people and some other kinds of people also. But I was not considered attractive. I was dark and tall, so I wasn't a great communicator. I also have a disease called dyslexia. So I wasn't able to pronounce or communicate well. So I started writing my own journal. And it started off as my thoughts, and then it turned into poetry, and then it turned into scripts. That's how I first got the bug in terms of this. And then Constance Kuhn, my drama teacher at Dutch Community College, put me in my first play called The Emperor Jones. I got the bug, and so I took it from there.
And it's interesting hearing you talk about, appearance, because one of the things I know is even here on Amazon, that's one of the issues you've been able to address in your work when it comes to documentaries. And I think it's one of those things you talk about it even in the book. And I think it's an interesting conversation that we're still having in 2021. Does that surprise you, Mr. Duke, that after all these years, there's not only, of course, we're dealing with racism, but also race, within the different communities like the Black community?
It's very disappointing, disheartening. And my question, again, what are we leaving our children? Even if we don't care about ourselves, we should care about the future of our children. And what are we leaving them? We're leaving them hope or despair. My belief, we should leave them hope. By example, not just yap talking, but by example. And I'm trying my best. I have a foundation called the Duke Media Foundation. Go there, dukemediafoundation.org. You can see what we're doing. We're teaching media literacy and financial literacy to children. Also, I have 2 more books. Works of the Invisible Man, which is my poetry and prose. And the journey, which is the journey we all go through in life. And I point that out. So that book, and then the Unite Network is an attempt to really show a lot of the people around the world are doing good things that get no recognition. We have the support of Anthony Anderson and Cedric the Entertainer and other friends of mine that are supporting my network, so I'm really grateful.
Yeah, let's talk about the network. We're going to come back to the books. That's my big passion, Mr. Duke, are the books. But I want to talk about, when I got the release about the network, and that's kind of what prompted this conversation we're having today on camera here on Amazon Live, because you are, of course, no stranger to the visual platforms, right? As I mentioned, people know you from their favorite television shows and films, your own documentaries. But what made you say that, you know what, it's not enough just to do another documentary, that I need a platform to be able to share this message?
Well, there's a lot to talk about these days. I mean, we're in some pretty troubling times, you know, from the earth. I mean, Mother Earth is not happy with us, as you can tell. A tornado or hurricane in New York City, first time in history. New Jersey, Florida, New Orleans. I mean, it's a pretty severe, and we need to discuss, because we have to leave a better earth to our children. In terms of politics, we have to, you know, if I disagree with you politically, I don't have to hate you. We can have a discussion, and then we part our ways, but we can still be friends. So, you know, there's a lot of blame and everything. And my question again, what are we leaving our children? I mean, I know there's a thing called narcissistic greed, but the COVID disease didn't discriminate between rich and poor.
Yeah. And it's interesting hearing you, because you mentioned it a few times. What are we leaving? I think the thing that I think so many people respect about you, Mr. Duke, myself included, and again, you talk about this in the book, you think a lot about legacy. You think a lot. I mean, of course, you've had your success. You know, you've had things you've been able to achieve. But why is it, do you think, that legacy has been one of those things that has really kind of driven you as you've gone throughout your career?
I think my parents, who had second and third grade educations, never went to high school, their principles in terms of not only survival but thriving, they never took welfare or anything. My father worked 3 jobs, and my mother worked 2 jobs. And so, you know, people always talk about how difficult it is for our culture. I'm not suggesting that going through slavery and all the things we've been through have not scarred us and have not in any way impacted us. But, and that's the question. And what are you going to do about it? Yeah. And there are some people that, you know, really take into their hands their futures, and they really, really work hard, study hard, and that's the legacy my family left me. I want to try to leave that same legacy. It makes no difference how difficult it is. Just do it. And we complain about, oh, there's a giant that's got his foot on our necks and he's crushing our necks. And he's so big, I can't even see his face. That's how tall he is. Well, my whole thing is, well, he's got his foot on your neck. At least you can bite his damn toe.
Yeah. You know, that is it. And your fighting spirit is one of the things. I want to read something from chapter 13 of the book, Mr. Duke, that fits in perfectly with something you just said. I want to acknowledge Earl Hall. Appreciate you joining us on Amazon Live side there. Earl says, love this interview. Want to thank you all for tuning in there on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. We see you there as well. If you all have any questions, would love to be able to incorporate that as well in my conversation here with Mr. Duke. In Mr. Duke's book, where he chronicles his career, it's My 40-Year Career on Screen and Behind the Camera. One thing that you do, especially when I thought about when it comes to the network, the Unite Network, Mr. Duke, and what you've been able to do now, of course, when it comes to the books and your platform. In chapter 13, the chapter is Acting Out. And you said something, and you and I talked about this actually on the radio show, one of the last times that you were on. For those who have the print edition of the book, it's found on page 123. You say most people focus on the show, but neglect the business. It's either something they don't want to face or something they just don't care about. It's important to prepare for those income droughts. And the best way to do that is to hire someone who knows more about money than you do, a business manager, financial advisor, or an accountant who you can trust to track how you use your money. From there, keep an eye on the direction the industry is moving, because it shifts with each generation and technology adventures. You have to be prepared to shift with it. And you've been able to do that. You've been able to shift and kind of maneuver. And I bring that up because not everyone has. What made you say that if I'm going to have not just the longevity and leave the legacy, but also be able to survive, what made you know you had to continue to evolve?
Well, As you know, this business is a roller coaster ride. Very few people stay here. How do you prepare for those other times? And again, my parents taught my sister and I no excuses. When things are good, great. They're difficult, great. You know, what they taught us really that we were alchemists as a culture. I mean, we were given slavery. We turned it into music. We were given guts of pigs. We turned them into chitlins. We were given the feet of pigs. We turned them into pig feet. I mean, we have the ability, if given the opportunity, to change the world. But unfortunately, how can I say it? We're in a very self-destructive mode right now. If you look at the murder rates in Chicago, us killing each other, other places, I mean, the violence of police on us, and not all police are bad people, they're just not. I have friends that are police officers that are really good people. They care about our community, they care about us. We have some bad guys too. But if you take all the collective things in terms of the deaths that we face, compare the number of deaths that the police officers are responsible for compared to the numbers of deaths that we kill each other, it's a very low number.
Yeah.
And when are we going to stop? I mean, when are we going to begin to value each other again? I mean, I don't have all the answers to all the problems, but it's disturbing.
Right. But I think I love the transparency. You have it in the book, Mr. Duke. I think that's why people love working with you and building with you. And again, going back to, like you mentioned, those who are working with you with the Unite Network. I mean, you've been able to show by example what is possible, right? I think a lot of times we do kind of fall into that mentality of what we can't do. But you've been able to not only to realize what you can do, but also those you can build with. How exciting has that been, especially this year for you, where so many people have been stagnant or been pushed back? How does it feel to be able to move forward and to move forward with people who not only support the vision, but want to see the vision grow?
I say it's due to the grace of God. Every morning I wake up, I thank God for waking me up, giving me health of mind, body, and spirit. And it's not really my mission, it's the mission of God that's within me and that I worship and try to, to totally subdue my ego, EGO, which stands for edging God out. I don't want to edge God out. I want God in my life all the time to do whatever I can do the best I can do it. And so I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying my best.
For yourself also, do you find that, especially now in 2021, and it's hard to believe we're having some of these same conversations, Mr. Duke, that we've had for quite some time, that you're still having to remind people what's possible? I mean, I think when you go on social media in particular, there seems to be such an attitude of surrender. Have you kind of seen yourself in the work that you're doing right now, especially moving throughout this year, reminding people that it's not over and that the best can still be to come?
We try our best every day. That's what the network exists. I try with my books, my foundation, DukeMediaFoundation.org. I'm just one person. All I can do is what I can do. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I don't have the power to do anything other than care about the future of our children and the earth and our society. And, it's a small gesture, but I'm doing the best I can do.
Well, your best is definitely making an impact, and that's why we're so glad to have you here. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, either on Amazon Live or through the other platforms, you all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents. Excited to welcome the one and only Mr. Bill Duke to our platform today. We're talking with him not only about his extraordinary career, but all he's doing in 2021, where so many people, as I mentioned, are kind of paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. He's moving forward with his Unite Network, new books, and definitely want you guys to get this book. It is so powerful, not only sharing his life story, but also all the great things that he's been able to achieve and the lessons he's learned as well. We're going to remind you of that and how you can stay connected with the network. Mr. Duke, I want to talk to you about the lessons learned because, again, I think you have not only shown yourself to be a great creative, but also a great teacher. Did that seem like a natural progression for you, that you were not only going to build a platform, but also kind of teach what you have learned?
I was very fortunate to have some great people in my life, like Lloyd Richards, the first Black director on Broadway with Raisin in the Sun. Michael Schultz, a great director, who gave me my shot in Car Wash. Ivan Dixon, at Dutch Community College, James Hall, Miss Walker, who believed in me. I mean, I'm passing on what was given to me. In other words, caring. And they didn't have to care about me. I mean, I'm not related to them as a relative. They simply cared about me as a human being, and they literally saw something in me I didn't see in myself at that time. But they believed in me, and they encouraged me. I can give you 2 short examples. It's in the book. Miss Eugene Walker, who was my English teacher in high school, and she was a white lady, and I suffered racism, and I hated white people at the time, and was in an English class, and I used to write in my journal all the time. She told me twice, stop writing in my class in the journal. And I ignored her. For the 3rd time, she came, said, stay after class, and I did. She took my journal. And I said, what are you doing? I said, I told you not to write in the journal. Okay. So I left the class, and I hated her. I just knew she was against me. The next semester, she said, stay after class. I did. She handed me my journal book back. Plus, she handed me back the National Poetry Book. She had taken some of my poems and submitted them, and I won some prizes in poetry.
Wow.
Second thing was Dr. James Hall. I'd gotten to Boston University on a Martin Luther King scholarship. And the scholarship paid for my tuition, but not my room and board. And so I decided to come back to Poughkeepsie after, and I'd work for a year or so, and then go back to Boston University. The president of the university, a white man, Dr. James Hall, I'd gone to Dutchess Community College. He was the dean there. I was walking out of this, because I'd gone to see a friend of mine. I was walking out of the door. He said, hey, Duke, come here. I said, what do you want, Dr. Hall? Come here, I got to talk to you. I go into his office. I said, what do you want, Dr. Hall? He says, I hear that you're going to come back to Poughkeepsie. You're leaving Boston University to work. I said, yeah, well, I can't pay for my. He said, wait a minute. He goes into his vest pocket. This is a white male man. Hands me an envelope. He says, open it. I opened the envelope. There was a check that he had written to me that paid for both semesters of all my room and board.
Wow.
And I was trying to thank him, and he said, I believe in you. It's okay, take off. And so that was confusing. That was very confusing. I'm supposed to hate you, Dr. Hall, but you're doing this for me?
Wow. It's something, isn't it something though? But that's the thing. Joy Lynn M. Ross is joining us on the Facebook side. She said, thank you for being so transparent and honest and sharing your story. And I think so many people resonate with that. You mentioned Car Wash, Mr. Duke. We have a question also on the Amazon Live side. I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping up with everyone. We also have some comments over on LinkedIn as well. But let's see, make sure I get the name. B says, what movie was more enjoyable, Car Wash or Predator? That may be a difficult thing to answer, but what do you think?
That's I don't know how to answer that question. They were both joys of my life. I mean, Car Wash, worked with Richard Pryor, Danny DeVito, Ivan Dixon, the Pointer Sisters, George Carlin. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And Richard Pryor was one of the, everybody was terrified. He was coming to the set. He was at the top of his career. And he came to the set. He was the humblest, funniest human being you would ever meet. And we were all in shock because we thought he was going to be a big star. Totally humble. On Predator, working with Arnold and Jesse the Body Ventura and all of those, Danny DeVito. I mean, I'm not there. On the Predator, I'm saying work with Arnold and all those great guys. We were in the jungle of Puerto Vallarta and Palenque, where they had the pyramids. And as I said many times before, the caterer had netting around the tent where we ate, but didn't keep the bugs out of our food. And the first week we said, take this crap back. By the end of that week, we called the bugs protein because there was no more food.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
But we formed a brotherhood. So it was great.
And that brotherhood is continuing in so many different ways. B, thank you so much for the follow. Also there on Amazon Live. Appreciate you. Mr. Duke, the last thing I want to ask you about, and again, I wanted to say we wanted to be very mindful of your time, but also appreciative of you taking out the time to be with us here on Amazon Live and the other platforms. As we kind of come full circle in this conversation, I mean, I think one of the big things for you, again, when I got the announcement about Unite, about the new books, was the importance of consistency. Kind of go into what you mentioned in the segment in the book I read about the business, that this is a business, but also it doesn't mean that there cannot be enjoyment either. When people kind of start to find out about Unite, we're going to remind them again how they can be able to be a part of that. What do you hope it does for them and them being able to keep the conversations and the work going?
I think we have to pass on hope to the future for our children. Hope. There's a lot of negative things that are happening. Yes, that's very, very true. But there's some great things happening on this earth that great people are doing for no reward other than celebrating other people's humanity. And I just think that that's very, very important for us because we're graduating children from high school with second grade reading skills. There's a greater and greater imprisonment of us as a culture. I could go on and on with the negative, but the fact of the matter is, there are great people doing positive things in this world also. And I just, it's like, I want to celebrate them. And that's why I built the Unite Network. Cedric the Entertainer, Anthony Anderson, other friends of mine are supporting me. And we'll be launching fully in November, but we're launching piece by piece over the next couple of months. So we're trying our best, to do the best we can. It's a small effort, but whatever each individual can do, if they do, it's going to make a big difference.
So how can our audience be able to stay connected, Mr. Duke, with Unite and all the great things that you're doing outside of that?
You can go to Unite and sign up and see what we're doing. And if they want to participate, they can. The DukeMediaFoundation.org, if they want to contribute dollars, we're teaching young children financial literacy and media literacy. They want to help us with that, they can help us with that. They just want to comment and say something positive about the world or how we can solve some of the issues we're facing. I'm open to all of that because we need as much collaboration as possible so we can get through these difficult times. These are some difficult times we're facing, from nature and the weather to this disease to political challenges. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But the thing is, our differences is not what we should be focusing on. It's our commonalities. The only race is the human race. And to focus on our differences is not going to help our children.
Such a great point. Again, everyone, the one and only Bill Duke has been our guest. He's an actor, producer, director, author, and also the founder of the Unite Network. Make sure you guys do support him. We'll be linking that information up for you guys about the network. But make sure you guys definitely get this book. You can learn so much more about his extraordinary journey, what he's been able to do, what he's learned, and now what he's passing on with all of you. Mr. Duke, it's been great having you on the radio show in the past. It's awesome being able to see you face to face this time, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
God bless you, my friend. Thank you for allowing me to be on your show. You have great questions, and thank you for your support, okay? Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate you, Mr. Duke. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents on Amazon Live and our other affiliates. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you again real soon. Take care.